Researchers put people into small groups and gave them a problem to solve together. When it was over, everyone answered one question: who led this group? The strongest predictor was not intelligence. It was not personality. It was not how good anyone's ideas had been. It was how long each person had been talking. I want to stay with that for a moment, because it is not only how we pick leaders, it is also how we grade ourselves at 11 at night, replaying a conversation we did not perform well in. By the end of this, you will have three things. A study published this summer that pulls apart two things we have been treating as one thing. A sentence written in 1890 that describes almost exactly what happens in the second a word will not come. And one small practice for the nights when the thing in your head refuses to come out in one piece. Let me start with the thing itself. Someone asks how you have been, and there is something in you at that moment that has a shape. It has edges. You could almost point at it. And what comes out of your mouth is, honestly, just tired. Or you type the message. You read it back. It sounds either too much or too flat, never the thing itself. So you delete it and send 3 words instead. I do this constantly. I have finished sentences and thought, on the way out the door, that was not it. That was not what I meant. And the gap between what was in there and what got out is the part I want to look at tonight. Because we've been putting that gap in the wrong file. We treat it as evidence about the thinking. It is much more likely to be evidence about the translation. So where did that habit come from? Because it is not stupid. It came from somewhere reasonable. Go back to that room with the small groups. That study is real. It was published in 2020 in a journal called the Leadership Quarterly, and it has a wonderfully blunt name. It is called Testing the Babble Hypothesis. 256 people, 33 groups, 4 to 10 students in each. They ran business and military simulations. 10 minutes to plan, an hour to play, and afterwards everyone nominated a leader. Speaking time predicted those nominations better than intelligence did, better than agreeableness, better than how good someone was at the actual task, and the quality of what a person said in that data did not show a significant effect at all. I want to be careful with this one, because it is easy to overstate. These were peer nominations in a lab, not real jobs and real promotions. And the researchers themselves say they cannot fully separate speaking time from the things that travel with it, where your eyes go, what your voice does, how you sit. This is a correlation, and they say so. But it points at something we can all feel in a room. We are running a scoring system, and the score is going up while a person is still talking. There is a second piece, and it is stranger. In 2006, a researcher named Daniel Oppenheimer ran 5 experiments on something very simple. He took writing and made it harder to read. Longer words where shorter ones would do. Most students, when asked, say they use bigger words on purpose to seem smarter. The experiments found the opposite. The harder the text was to process, the less intelligent the author was judged to be. And that held regardless of how good the original essay was, and regardless of what the readers expected going in. The thing doing the work in that study has a name: processing fluency, how easily it goes down. Put those two together, and you get the sentence I would like to put on the table. We are not really scoring the thinking. We are scoring how smoothly it arrives. And here is the part I do not want to be sarcastic about. That is not a stupid system. It is a system built on the only thing that is actually visible. Nobody can see your reasoning. Everybody can hear your fluency. So fluency became the proxy, and then, quietly, it stopped being a proxy and started being the thing. Which is fine, right up until the night you use it on yourself. Now, this summer, something landed that speaks directly to that. There is an argument that is genuinely thousands of years old. Is logical reasoning built out of language? When you work something out, are you doing it in words? Or is language just what you put it into afterwards? That is hard to test because most of us have both, running at the same time, all the time. You cannot easily ask a person to think without language when language is right there. So a team took the difficult route. Evelina Fedorenko's lab at MIT, working with Rosemary Varley at University College London, who studies language loss after brain injury. Their paper was published on the 8th of July in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences, and the title says exactly what they found. Evidence from formal logical reasoning reveals that the language of thought is not natural language. They worked with 2 people who had had strokes that damaged the language regions of the brain. Both had severe difficulty producing language and severe difficulty understanding it. Then they built logic that did not run on words. In one task, you see 2 lists of numbers, and you have to find the hidden rule that turns the first list into the second. In another, you see a grid of geometric patterns with a piece missing, and you pick the piece that completes it. In a third, you get a plain conditional. If the ball is red, then it is big. The ball is red. Is the ball big? The participants with severe language impairment performed as well as the control group, and they could show the rules they had worked out, not say them, show them, non-verbally. Then the team scanned healthy adults doing the same tasks in an MRI machine, while also mapping where each person's language system actually lives, since it varies. And the language system was not engaged, not for the inductive tasks, where you infer a rule from examples, not for the deductive ones either. One of the lead researchers, Hope Keen, put it like this: it really appends a theory that says that symbolic rule induction is not possible without linguistic capacities. I want to be honest about the size of this, because I think honesty is the only reason to trust anything I say here. 2 people, that is a deep case study, not a large sample, and it does not show that language is unimportant. It shows that this kind of reasoning does not require it. Those are different claims, and only the second one is theirs. There is also a loose end the researchers are still pulling on. The deductive tasks did not light up the general reasoning network the way the inductive ones did, and they do not yet know why. But hold the shape of the finding. Language can be badly damaged, and the reasoning is still there, which means the reasoning was never made of it. Fedorenko has said, more or less, the thing worth carrying out of the building. That difficulty with language is not an indication of how smart or how capable a person is. She is talking about aphasia, about people who have lost something enormous and get treated as though they lost their minds along with it. That is the serious version, and I do not want to shrink it into a metaphor for our small evenings. But there is a smaller version, and most of us are living in it. The version where the thought is intact and the sentence is not, and we file that under a verdict about ourselves. Which brings me to 1890. William James, in The Principles of Psychology, in a chapter called The Stream of Thought, stops to describe something almost too ordinary to write down: what it is like to try to remember a name you cannot reach. He writes, suppose we try to recall a forgotten name. The state of our consciousness is peculiar. There is a gap therein, but no mere gap. It is a gap that is intensely active. A sort of wraith of the name is in it, beckoning us in a given direction, making us at moments tingle with the sense of our closeness, and then letting us sink back without the longed-for term. A gap that is intensely active. I think that is the most useful sentence in this entire video, because notice what he is describing. The absence has a direction. It pulls. It rejects the wrong candidates instantly, which means something in there already knows the shape of the right one. You cannot reject a wrong word unless you are holding something to compare it against. So the pull is not the absence of content. The pull is the content waiting for a name. And I want to say what this is not. This is not me telling you that you are fine and the feeling of being inarticulate is an illusion. It is not an illusion. Not being able to say the thing has real costs. In rooms where saying it is how things get decided. I am not taking that away. I am adding one thing next to it, which is that the silence in the middle of your sentence is not empty. There is one more piece I want to put down, because it is the line most often used to close this door. Wittgenstein. The limits of my language mean the limits of my world. Proposition 5.6. It gets quoted constantly, usually to mean something like, if you cannot say it, you do not really have it. That is a misreading. In the book, he is drawing a boundary around what propositions in logic can do, which is a much narrower claim than the one it gets used for. And there is a stranger thing in the same book, Proposition 6.522. There is indeed the inexpressible. This shows itself. It is the mystical. The man whose sentence gets used to shut the door kept a category open for exactly the thing you were trying to say. Not sayable, not therefore absent. It shows itself. So what do you actually do? Here's the practice, and it is small on purpose. Stop asking yourself to think and translate in the same motion. When the thing will not come out, do not sit there hunting for the right sentence in real time. That is 2 jobs at once, and one of them is much slower than the other. Fix it first. Translate second. Fixing it can be almost anything, as long as it is not a finished sentence. Point at the thing. Draw it badly. Give it a comparison you would be embarrassed to say out loud. Write the version you already know is wrong, on purpose, because a wrong version is a handle and a blank page is not. Remember what the participants in that study did. They could not produce the language. They could still show the rule. The showing came first. And the variable here is not eloquence. It is not becoming a better talker. The variable is giving the thing one more pass. The first version is not supposed to be right. The first version has exactly one job, which is to stop it from getting away. Two honest edges on this. The first, I am not telling you to stop working on how you express things. Expression is still the only way anything gets out of you and into another person. Practice it. Just do not treat it as a diagnosis. The second, none of this makes fluent people shallow. Someone who can find the words fast is not thinking less. They are good at a second thing on top of the first thing, and it is genuinely useful. It is just not the same thing, and it was never a measurement of the same thing. Which takes us back to that room. The person who talked the longest gets remembered as the one who led. That scoring system is not going anywhere. It is too convenient, and most of the time it is roughly right. But you are also running it at 11 at night on yourself, in the dark, with no other candidates in the room. So when you are lying there replaying the sentence you did not manage to say, it might be worth knowing what that measurement is actually measuring. It is measuring how smoothly something arrived. It is not measuring you. You are not failing to think. You are looking for the word. Those are two different jobs, and the slow one is the second one.